The ANC Manifesto launch concluded with many watching what promises the party would make. This election year is billed as a game changer that could diminish the governing party's majority and dramatically alter the way politics is done in the country for the first time since democracy. So, how did the ANC fare? And are they focusing on the right things to keep its support base and to woo new voters? Academic writer and commentator Dr Ebrahim Harvey joins us now to look at this. Good morning to you, Dr Harvey, and thanks so much for your time. This was a big event, a culmination of weeks of foot campaigns and meetings with communities. If you look at the morning press, you'd say the party didn't say enough. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, good morning, Imran, and thanks for this opportunity. No, I looked very closely at this election manifesto. There is no doubt that it's largely electioneering. That is what's going on, Iman, with this thing. If you look at the fact that we have the worst infrastructural crisis in South Africa, this is the worst time for the ANC to be entering an election. Never has it had its back against the wall since 1994 like now. Everything. No doubt they touch on some important things. But you know what they've done? I told Lester Kivet about an hour ago, Cape Talk interview. Too little, too late. Too little, too late, and too little, too late to save what is an impending electoral defeat. Iman, I'm absolutely convinced the ANC is not only going to lose it, and especially with, you see, the MK party coming up, and not only in KZN, they want some by-elections. The ANC could not have had a worse moment on the eve of, arguably, the most important election in post-apartheid South Africa. And I'll tell you one thing, I've said it many times before, Iman. The ANC needs to go and read Amilcar Cabral, the assassinated Guinea-Bissau revolutionary. Tell no lies. Claim no easy victories, and you know why? This is what the ANC does, Iman. That is why my 2021 book, The Great Pretenders, Race and Class, because this is what they do. I mean, I'll give you just one big example. It relates to the election manifesto, because Ramaphosa repeats every time he speaks about it, the renewal of the ANC. 2002, at the Stellenbosch conferences, they committed themselves to the renewal of the ANC, man. That is 22 years ago. In inverse proportion to the emphasis on renewal, corruption, mismanagement of the state and the public sector grew, and you need not look further than the Zono Commission of Inquiry. I'll tell you something. I'm totally opposed to the ruling now of the Pretoria High Court about this about the cater deployment. But back to your question, I think they touching on some of the key critical elements, but too little, too late. What has Ramaphosa and the ANC done to the fact that we have the worst cost of living crisis? Iman, please listen to me, not only in post-apartheid South Africa, since the Union of South Africa was formed in 1910, the worst cost of, and most devastating cost of living, besides load shedding and water, sanitation, sewage, everything is collapsing across the country, except in the Western Cape. I was there a few weeks ago. The only place in the country, man, no potholes, the robots work, everything is to be in order, and the GA rules. There's another question for another time, but yeah. I'll tell you something, it's too late. The ANC, and it's a lot of hot air. Let me be honest with you. Okay. This electoral manifesto is a lot of hot air. I don't think it's going to save the impending defeat, Iman, of the ANC at the elections in 29th of May 2024.
And I knew that question was certainly going to be in your wheelhouse, Ebrahim Harvey. And as you say, you've written extensively about it, a well-researched book on how the ANC actually got to this point. But when you look at the ardent faces of people at Moses Mabhida Stadium, you think of the ultimate price that a number of the ANC supporters paid on their journey back home, where they tragically lost their lives in that bus accident. When you think of so many people who still see their futures and their fates intertwined with the ANC, what do you think? I mean, we can't obviously imagine what they're thinking, but they feel something. They feel enough for the party to say that we are back and we back you.
No, there's no doubt that the turnout at the Moses Mabhida Stadium was very good. You know, in fact, it surprised me somewhat, because the day before I was interviewed and I said that there's so much a downward sentiment about the ANC and aversion to it that I won't be surprised that they failed to fill the stadiums. And they did. But don't get confused with the attendance of that stadium with what is happening to the ANC. It's not since now, since 2006. Don't forget, Iman, when you talk about this, there's a lot of dynamics. We can go into talking for long about the attendance and what it means, it doesn't mean. But the ANC lost the powerhouse of production and nerve center of the economy, Joburg, Gauteng, both in 2016 and in 2021. And you know what's happened since 2021? The cost of living crisis, everything has got load shedding considerably worse. And I use that as an important, intelligent yardstick to measure the likely outcome of the elections on the 29th of May. If that is what happened during better days, what is likely to happen, Iman, on the 29th of May when conditions are considerably worse than when the ANC was trounced yet again in 2021. So don't be too carried away. I don't want to get into political science now about the turnout of at the Moses Mabhida Stadium. Very good, but it's superficial. It's superficial if you use that as a criteria for the likely outcome and that the fact the ANC will prevent a defeat, as they're saying now. They're not making any provision for a coalition. Can you believe the arrogance? Notwithstanding a terrible track record, in fact, since Ramaphosa, the worst 5 years. And I don't want to tell you now, a former president of this country said to me, there's no doubt we can run away from the fact that since Cyril has taken over, everything has got worse. I don't want to get into that now. Yeah. It's true. I mean, this is the same man that Zuma put in charge of the ESCOM war room in 2014, 10 years ago, Iman. We talk of taking accountable for, held accountable for decisions and for leadership roles. Nobody gets into a discussion of how it is that a decade later, after Zuma put Ramaphosa in charge of resolving the ESCOM crisis, it is much worse than it was before. And
Ibrahim,
he should be he should be the last person to be talked. Remember, this is the same man that said, if you talk of corruption, the ANC is accused number one, and then he runs away. He gets Parliament to bulldoze the parliamentary report on Pala, refuses to engage. I mean, you can't be taken seriously, man.
Let's do a really quick final one. If you think of the expectations, even ahead of the President Sona speech, we looked at the forecasting that some research companies have done about the ANC's fortunes in the next election. That's not looking great. They probably, by all accounts, are based on this research and polls, would go below their majority. You build his Sona address as an election speech. Here we have the actual electioneering speech in a way by releasing their election manifesto. Is the ANC taking this as seriously as they ought to, given by all accounts that they are in for the fight of their lives and their survival?
No, they are absolutely taking it as serious as they possibly could. But, Iman, I come back to rather too late, too little, too late. Iman, you know where the Freedom Charter was formed? Go and look at Kliptown. You know where the ANC was formed? Bloemfontein. Go and look at the townships in Bloemfontein. They were under administration in the worst condition ever, Iman. Who can believe me saying it? They were better off. All these townships, including Soweto, all the townships, I was there from 72, Iman. I was a member of SASM. The townships were better off. They are in the worst condition today under ANC rule than they have ever been. I mean, it is shocking. The ANC doesn't deserve, Iman, to win the 2000. If they win it, they're very lucky. They don't deserve at all. We need a national coalition government. It's going to act as a countervailing force to try and uproot this embedded corruption in the state and public sectors we've had under ANC rule from 1994, and especially getting much worse over the past decade.
Dr. Ebrahim Harvey, thank you as always for your time. No doubt we'll have more conversations like these as we approach the elections.